Your need for external validation is a weakness. It is a crack in your armor, a vulnerability you willingly expose to the world, allowing the opinions and whims of others to dictate your state of mind. You seek their approval, their likes, their permission, and in doing so you surrender your power. You become a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the changing tides of social acceptance. This is the path of the herd. It is not the path of the warrior. Miyamoto Musashi, the most legendary swordsman in Japan's history, was undefeated in over 60 duels. In the final days of his life, secluded in a cave, he did not write of his victories. He wrote a code for living. 21 rules for a life of stark, unyielding self-reliance. He called it the Dokkōdō, the path of aloneness. This is not a manual for loneliness. It is a blueprint for forging an inner fortress so strong that you depend on no one and nothing but your own disciplined mind. We will now dissect 5 of its most potent rules. Listen and apply. The first rule is the foundation. You are paralyzed by a career decision, waiting for a mentor's approval before you act. You second-guess your own judgment because an authority figure has not yet validated it. This hesitation is a symptom of a deeper sickness, the refusal to see things as they are. The principle is, accept everything just the way it is. This was not a passive philosophy for Musashi, it was a combat necessity. On the battlefield, you do not wish the rain would stop. You do not wish your opponent was slower. To do so is to live in a fantasy, and in a duel, fantasy is death. A warrior must see the terrain, the weather, and the enemy with absolute, cold clarity. Acceptance is the prerequisite for effective action. The takeaway is this: stop resisting reality. Your circumstances are what they are. The opinions of others are what they are. See the facts of your situation without the filter of your desires or fears. Your mentor's approval is not a fact. It is a preference. The facts are your skills, your opportunities, and your own assessment. Make your decision based on the unvarnished truth of your position. Act from a place of clarity, not hope. The second rule addresses a modern poison. You post something online, then you check your phone. Again and again. You are not seeking information. You are seeking a rush, a small hit of dopamine delivered by the validation of strangers. You are chasing a ghost. The principle is, do not seek pleasure for its own sake. For a warrior like Musashi, the pursuit of fleeting pleasure was a critical flaw. It softens the body, dulls the senses, and weakens the spirit. A mind addicted to cheap gratification is a mind that cannot endure hardship. It cannot maintain focus in the face of pain or boredom. The true prize for the swordsman was not the thrill of victory, but the perfection of his craft. Mastery was the goal. Pleasure was merely a distracting byproduct to be disregarded. If you find this code valuable, a like on this video shows it. The takeaway is to sever your attachment to the shallow rewards of validation. Create, work, and act according to your own internal standards of excellence. If you post something, let it be an expression of your will, and then walk away. Do not look for the response. The work is the reward. The approval of the crowd is meaningless noise that distracts you from the next task. The third rule confronts the herd instinct. You are in a group and a topic arises. You feel a sudden impulse to agree with the majority, even if you are uncertain. You modify your stance, not based on logic, but on a vague feeling of wanting to belong. You act without conviction. The principle is, do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. Musashi understood that a duel is won or lost in a single moment. An action taken on a whim, a partial feeling is a fatal gamble. It is an unexamined impulse. True intuition for a warrior is not a feeling. It is highly trained perception, honed over thousands of hours of practice until it becomes instantaneous. He would never strike based on a hunch. He would strike based on a deep, holistic understanding of the moment. The takeaway is to become an interrogator of your own mind. When you feel an impulse to conform, to speak, or to act, stop. Ask yourself, is this action rooted in principle or in a fleeting desire for social comfort? Is this belief truly mine, or am I borrowing it to fit in? You must cultivate the discipline to act only with intention and full awareness. Do not be swayed by the half-formed thoughts of a mind desperate to be liked. The fourth rule is a direct strike against emotional slavery. You remain in a toxic relationship, not because it serves your growth or your purpose, but because you fear the emptiness of being alone. You have mistaken emotional dependency for love, and this confusion has made you a prisoner. The principle is, do not be guided by the feeling of love or lust. To Musashi, any overwhelming emotion was a strategic liability. A warrior whose judgment is clouded by attachment is a warrior who is easily baited, manipulated, and defeated. His loyalty could not be to a person who might compromise his path. His ultimate loyalty was to his principles and his discipline. Emotional entanglement creates a weakness, a pressure point that an enemy can and will exploit. This is not a command to become a cold, unfeeling machine. It is an order to not be a slave to your emotions. You must have the strength to place your core principles above your feelings. Evaluate your relationships with objective clarity. Does this person strengthen your resolve or weaken it? Do they support your path or obstruct it? Do not allow the fear of solitude to chain you to a situation that drains your power. Your independence is not negotiable. The final rule is for those haunted by the past. You made a mistake, a failed business, a poor decision, and you are paralyzed by it. The ghost of your error dictates your present, whispering that you are not good enough, that you will only fail again. You are drowning in regret. The principle is, never be remorseful. For a swordsman, every action is final. Once the blade is swung, the result is set in stone. To dwell on a poorly executed cut, to be filled with remorse, is a complete waste of mental and spiritual energy. That energy is desperately needed for the present moment, for the next engagement. Regret is an indulgence. The warrior learns the lesson from the mistake, discards the useless emotion that accompanies it, and immediately refocuses on what is next. The takeaway is this: your past is a training ground, not a life sentence. Acknowledge your mistakes, analyze them with cold, brutal honesty to extract the lesson. Then, drop the emotional baggage. Remorse serves no one. It is a self-inflicted poison that keeps you weak and hesitant. Integrate the lesson, discard the regret, and return your full will and focus to the only time that matters, now. The Dokkōdō is not a path for everyone. It is a solitary road, but it is not about being lonely. It is about building an inner citadel, an unbreakable core of self-reliance so that you can face the world, not as a beggar seeking approval, but as a sovereign who needs none. Which of these rules will you adopt first? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more on the warrior's path to self-mastery. The path continues in the video on your screen.